Guys, we get a lot of things in Mexico, along with Canada and China, right? So when it comes to tariffs, I'm like, you know what? Maybe we need to do something that can at least make these companies move their base of operation, let's say, to the United States of America. In my head, I'm like, yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. But now, I think some countries are calling our bluffs, guys, and I don't really like it. Okay? Like, do I think that Trump would do something like that? I think that his advisors would step in immediately and be like, bro, we can't do this. Like, we can talk about it on the internet. Let's do that, right? Let's say if Mexico and Canada does not do something to kind of stop the migration coming from these two places, let's say, then we're going to go ahead and hit them with a tariff of 9 billion%. I don't know, some random fictitious made up number, bro, right? But now that the real number is out, and you're talking about putting a tariff of 25% onto Canada and Mexico and China, plus 10%, right? It's like, bro, I don't know. That may be a bit rough. Like, unless you're like ready for really hard times until these companies decide that they're going to start manufacturing things in the United States of America. And keep this in mind, these things don't happen overnight, right? So they're going to be like a couple of years, most likely, where things are wildly scary financially, okay? Until these companies decide, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and move our companies to the United States of America. Then they're going to have to start building things. Then they'll be hiring Americans. Then the prices will go down after many years, okay? So when I think of a 25% tariff on our closest neighbors, obviously it would be great if they could do something, that has the ability to kind of at least slow the migration, right? That'd be great. If they can do that, amazing. But now they're starting to threaten us back, all right? They're calling our bluff, basically. But all right, so the name of the video is Mexico floats retaliatory tariffs in response to Trump's threat. Oh, God, guys. This is a suggestion via Discord. Let's go and check it out. Let's do this.
You want to allow drugs to come through our southern border? We're going to tariff you. You want to allow them to come through Canada? We're going to tariff you. We are going to cost your countries, your economies. We're going to cost your businesses billions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
That was Eric Trump, the son of President-elect Trump, defending his father's promise to impose major tariffs on goods from the United States' three largest trading partners. The president-elect has justified this position as what he believes is an effort to curb migration and the
I think he misspoke. Goods to the United States, most likely.
Justified this position as what he believes is an effort to curb migration and the flow of fentanyl into the United States. He's been making that case publicly. Trump is now threatening to add 25% on tariffs, 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico, plus an extra 10% on goods from China. He was already, I believe, based on our reporting, proposing 60% tariffs on Chinese goods. To discuss all of this and the economic and political impact, Mario Parker joins us now. He is a Bloomberg News managing editor and focused on the economy and government. Let's begin.
Guys, really quickly, when Trump did this last time, it was the public complained about it. They were like, nah, he can't do this. That's crazy. That's bad news, right? But Biden loved it for some reason. So keep this in mind. What people say in public versus what they do behind closed doors are generally the complete opposite. All right, so careful what you pay attention to.
And Mario, by looking at what the Canadian leader Justin Trudeau had to say about all of this.
I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth. This is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do.
Okay.
So,
well, I mean, since you're up there talking about a relationship and things like that, that's amazing, right? So what you should do is make a solid attempt to actually slow down the illicit migration that's coming from the north, specifically individuals from South Asia. These individuals are flying into Canada because it's easier to go from India to Canada, right? And then they're just basically crossing the northern border, right? And we're talking about it's up like 10 times this year. All right. So do something about that, Trudeau.
You hear Prime Minister Trudeau. Do you believe Canada, Mexico, China will retaliate on these tariffs, or at least these promises, come next year?
Well,
Yes.
what you heard from Prime Minister
Mexico's
Trudeau
already
was a little
floating
bit
it.
of muscle memory there, right? He's gone through round one with Trump. He sees how this has gone before. In
Right.
terms of his rhetoric hasn't been as tense as, say, the Sheinbaum's has, right? Where she surprisingly,
Mexican leader.
yes, the Mexican president, where she said that essentially no one wins in a trade war. However, expect some tariffs and pain to be inflicted on both sides. And then, of course, China with its rhetoric saying that, again, similarly, no one wins in a trade war. But we've seen the tit-for-tat trade war between Washington and Beijing that marked Trump's first term here in Washington.
Right. Right. Guys, I also want to point out the last thing we actually need is for Canada, Mexico, and China to sit down at a table and be like, you know what we're going to do? Great. We're going to now impose our own tariffs specifically on the United States of America. Like, I mean, yeah, guys, we're strong. I get that. We're super strong. But I'm not sure we'd be able to basically withstand these three countries getting together and saying, you know what we're going to do? We're basically going to ruin the United States of America. Right? I'm telling you. Okay, so we can keep talking about these tariffs, but at the rate that's being discussed currently, it's going to wreck us, bro. All right, so hopefully, it's just a bluff, basically, guys. I'm hoping it's just a bluff in this instance, because if you actually do this, we're going to have an issue for a couple of years, guys. You think it's bad now, bro? Buy gold.
What's notable about what Trump is saying, if anything, on China? I mean, he's already proposed sweeping tariffs. What do you make of the escalation?
Well, I interviewed President Trump over the summer, and it was remarkable just how much he thought that tariffs were the panacea for anything that he has to confront him in terms of geopolitics, right? We saw
because they're valid.
There were mixed results from the first trade war, right?
What did he say to you?
He talked about that tariffs are a way to level the playing field, that he's been able to avert wars that we don't know about or conflicts that we don't know about due to the threat of tariffs before, how tariffs are the American people or economists have it wrong, right? This is what he's saying. Economists say this will lead to inflation here in the U.S. President Trump is saying that actually, on the contrary, tariffs are a wash. And again, that they solve all of the problems. You heard him say that they would be used to fund some of the pay-fors for his tax cuts that he's presented as well. In terms of the relationship with China specifically, what is surprising, again, he's been signaling that he's going to do this for a while. What is surprising is that now he's saying, essentially, if you add on 10% to the 60% he's already proposed, now we're looking at about upwards of 70% in tariffs before he even is inaugurated into office.
What do you make, though, of the president-elect talking a big game on tariffs, but two of the biggest proponents of tariffs in his circle, Peter Navarro and Robert Lighthizer, have yet to be named to the administration?
It is remarkable that Lighthizer, because he was the architect of the first go-round with the tariffs, whether or not, we'll see whether or not the administration is still coming together. He's named some of his key economic advisors so far. We'll see whether or not Lighthizer has a role in the administration. Navarro will probably have a role in the administration in some part as well.
Does Congress have a role in trade policy anymore or not?
And that's what we'll see, right? We'll see whether or not the Republicans have a majority here, and whether or not the Senate, the House, will be the rubber stamp that Donald Trump expects it to be. We saw some pushback with some of the nominations, one in particular over the last few days. Whether or not Congress goes along with this, because what you have to remember, as you well know,
nah, bro, it's definitely going to be like a rubber stamp situation. And honestly, no problem with that.
The economic pain that will be inflicted. Round one, a lot of that economic pain was inflicted in the heartland. These countries know how to strategically and surgically pinpoint parts of Donald Trump's base. Whether or not those Congress folks who are associated with those districts are willing to take on the pain will be something we'll have to see.
And that's the reality, I think, right? So when it comes down to like a lot of these tariffs and things like that, I have no problem with attempting to utilize it, right? I mean, we can back up our words, right? But I just can't imagine how the economists could be wrong in this instance. And I wouldn't say that this is like some random political bias. We just know that when tariffs are imposed, things get expensive historically, unless this will be the first time this doesn't happen, right? Because what just happens is they just push the cost onto the customer, right? And Mexico makes an unnecessary amount of our things, guys. All right, like an unnecessary amount. And so that's kind of like my only real concern. I mean, yeah, we can utilize it for like trying to do something that can, mitigate the flow of migrants coming into the southern border, along with the northern border, use it as some type of a threat. But it seems like the president of Mexico was about to call our bluff in a scary, terrible way, right? Because they can actually punish us for real. Yeah. But all right, guys, listen, let me know in the comments what you guys think, and you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.